Okay.
Okay, hey everyone. Looks like we are live. And I'm very happy to bring to everyone who is on the event as a guest, SKALE Labs co-founders, Jack O'Halloran and Stan Kladko.
Hey guys.
Right?
Hey everybody. Thanks for coming today. Excited to answer some community questions and get into some details about SKALE.
Yeah, fabulous. And my name is Jenya. I run marketing at SKALE. So welcome everyone. And where are you guys joining us from? So Stan is in Ukraine.
I
Jack
see Texas,
is in
Indonesia. Say hello if you're in the chat. There's another Indonesia.
Hey guys.
All right.
Amazing. Chicago. Everywhere from all over the world. Spain.
Love it. Love it. Exciting. Well, so hey, Jenya, why don't we give a little housekeeping here? If you have questions, ask them in the questions tab. And we collected a lot of questions in advance and went through them. Everybody who submitted them, thank you. There were a lot of similar questions, and so we consolidated them, and we're excited to go through them today. So Jenya will be reading the questions to Stan, and I will kind of take turns answering them, and feel free to ask questions live too. All right. Okay,
fabulous. And let us begin. So as Jack explained, we will start with the questions that were pre-submitted, and then we will go to all the live questions. And let us begin. So SKALE, as everyone here knows, and welcome everybody. The support that you guys give to SKALE is just tremendous. We really value it. And today we'll cover a number of very important and super interesting topics. It will be SKALE latest announcement, and it will be SKALE growth, and it will be everything about what's coming for SKALE, including NFTs, including play-to-earn gaming, and a lot of other very exciting stuff. And also we will talk about the fundamentals of SKALE technology, because that's what empowers everything. So let us begin and bring up the first question. So Jack and Stan, tell us about the SKALE's position within the greater blockchain ecosystem.
Yeah, this is a really good question. It's a fun one to answer. So I think a lot of people think of SKALE as just a layer 2 for Ethereum. I think a lot of people think of SKALE as not a layer 2 for Ethereum. The way we think of SKALE is a blockchain network. It is a multi-chain network. It is a true internet of blockchains. Sometimes people call this a Web3 cloud even. And so let me try to describe what this means. So typically every blockchain network are many computers that are all working together. And they have symmetrical software. So it's a symmetrical database. Every computer is running the same code, okay? Most blockchains run one blockchain across all of the nodes in the network, all right? What SKALE does, SKALE is an internet of blockchains where all of these nodes can be brought into small groups that are very fast and of high functionality, okay? So this is a multi-chain network, not a single chain network. It's many chains that live across the SKALE network. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because blockchains, as they become successful, grow and they fill up, okay? Imagine this is a rideshare platform. Imagine this is Uber, and it's in the town of San Francisco, and there's only 1,000 drivers. Well, guess what? At a certain point, every car is going to be full, and then the price is just going to keep going up if you want to have any sort of elastic demand. All right. Now that's how Ethereum's working. We can add more drivers, but we can't add more capacity. All right. And so Ethereum now is slow and expensive because of these dynamics. Now it's also very secure. So what SKALE does, SKALE actually is built partially on Ethereum, and this piece of SKALE on Ethereum helps guide the SKALE network. And the SKALE network, instead of having a fixed number of drivers, can be an infinite number of drivers to meet demand. And the price of a SKALE chain goes up and down just like surge pricing does for an Uber. Okay, so this is a very monumental change in the way blockchains function, because the SKALE network can grow in a limitless fashion. Okay, so I think there's three main points I want to leave you with, and then I'd love to hear Stan talk, because Stan is a true visionary in blockchain, and this this elastic growth model came from his brain, okay? But what I want to tell you is there's three things to remember. One, Scale is multi-chain. It's not one blockchain, it's multi-chain. Two, Scale is Ethereum native. It's not just Ethereum interoperable, it's actually native. So the Ethereum network guides the Scale network. If the Ethereum network died and stopped, the Scale network would stop, okay? It is, and when you pay for Scale, you actually pay Ethereum too. So Scale adds value back to Ethereum, and it's a partnership. It's a decentralized revenue partnership and product partnership, which is incredibly differentiating. And what we find is people that build on Ethereum want to use blockchains that help Ethereum, not blockchains that are parasitic, that suck value out of Ethereum. Okay, so the last thing I'll leave you with is Scale is high performance. It's incredibly fast. It can do things like file storage. It can run machine learning algorithms within Scale. You can mint NFTs for free on Scale, store them directly on the chain. So these things together, multi-chain, Ethereum native, and high performance are the three big elements that make Scale incredibly differentiated in the blockchain ecosystem. Okay, Stan, would love to hear your
great, Jack, great explanation. I just want to add that if you read Satoshi Nakamoto's original paper, and then all of the messages he left on different message boards, it's very clear that for him or for her or for them, it was very clear that at some point there will be many blockchains in the world. And just because there are so many people, you have like billions, like 8 billion people in the world, so one blockchain is not enough. And sometimes people ask us, why do you guys have like many blockchains? Why don't you just create like a single chain for everything? And our answer is that, unfortunately, that's not enough. Like you have in this world, you have many smartphones, you have many computers, notebooks, just because there are so many people. We wish we had a universe where one smartphone would be enough, or one notebook would be enough, or one website would be enough, or one blockchain would be enough. I wish, but that's probably like a parallel universe, which much less people. In our universe, we have many people on this planet, and it's very clear that we actually need to have many blockchains. So Scale is just many blockchains, and every blockchain maps uniquely to potentially to a website. So in the future, there will be a decentralized Uber or decentralized Airbnb or decentralized Google, and all of the things will be implemented using blockchains. And people asking us, we actually had polls on Twitter, and actually people really want decentralized Google. People really want decentralized Twitter, decentralized Airbnb, and that's the future of blockchain. And that's, if you've heard what Vitalik has been saying, like for the last several months, is that the next thing for blockchains is actually start replacing regular Web2 applications, and that's actually what's happening now. So Scale is just literally like many blockchains, and the reason why we want all of those blockchains to be Ethereum compatible is just because Ethereum ecosystem is the only ecosystem in the programmable blockchain world which actually works and has enough people. There's nothing that compares to Ethereum ecosystem, and in fact the gap from Ethereum to everything else, it just grows. There's literally nothing else. You talk to developers and the only thing they know is Ethereum. Now some investors invest in other blockchains, but I believe in many cases this comes from the fact that investors don't really know so much about blockchains as engineers do or developers do. In any way, our answer is very simple. We want to have this Web3 that replaces Web2, and we're building these many blockchains on Ethereum because that's the winning ecosystem, which is just hugely winning over everything else. And we believe that's going to happen in the future. And then we're building also a way for these blockchains to interact in a similar way to your applications on your smartphone or on your laptop, on the server interact. Applications on different chains will interact. So we are building a framework which is called interchain messaging, which actually connects different blockchains in a very similar way. Applications on your smartphone are connected to other smartphones or other servers. So what we are doing at Scale is actually very simple. We're just literally mapping the internet of the past into the blockchain world and building this world of many, many compatible blockchains. And it's a pretty huge task. So our plans actually go far into the future because we understand that it won't happen in a single day or even in a single year. But we are thankful to our community and to our token holders for sharing this long-term point of view with us and staying with us, having that we stated from the beginning, our journey is going to take lots of time and lots of patience. So we are thankful to our guys for being with us. And on our side, we're working hard to make this reality.
Yeah, and Stan, so your webcam broke. It's kind of funny. It says EOS.
Okay.
Broke. So.
Sorry, guys. Oh, yeah, I will.
At least I would say Ethereum broken.
Yeah, it's my webcam. Right? It just, I'm gonna.
Stan's got a new camera set up. But Stan, so Stan, that's a really great answer. And Jenny, while he fixes that, I guess why don't we skip forward one question and then we'll go back to Stan's going to address a technical question, but.
Yeah, that's great.
Forward, I'll answer the next.
Yes.
About NFTs, which are.
Yeah, that's great. So it's one of the most exciting things about Scale is that Scale supports the most amazing blockchain-based use cases, including NFTs. So Jack, there is a question on, will NFTs be a big category for Scale? And if so, why? Could you please expand? Yeah,
I think NFTs are going to be the most impactful category. So NFTs, DeFi, and Web3, which Web3 I'll include blockchain gaming as a component of Web3. It's a pretty expansive category, but those are the main categories, and it's unbelievable the amount of traction we're seeing with NFTs. Okay, and this is twofold. One, if you look at Scale, the way the Scale network functions, most NFTs, and I'll try to step back a little bit and try to educate people who are smart contract developers. Sorry, I'm going to talk a basic, but this is going to be good context for everyone else. So when you create an NFT, what you're doing is you're writing a Solidity contract that has a set of rules, okay? And it says, here's the NFT. Most of these contracts point to a different place for the file. So, and what you actually own is just a hash. You own something on the blockchain. What that thing is oftentimes actually points to a centralized server. If that person running the server decided, or company decided to quit running the servers, your NFT is gone, okay? So you're actually owning, instead of owning an NFT, you're owning rights for something in Web 2. And we think that's wrong. We think it's against the spirit of NFTs. And so what Scale does is Scale is a containerized blockchain. What does that mean? So a containerized blockchain means within the blockchain, there are these sub-containers. They're smaller compute categories. It's a computer within a computer, okay? Now this Docker container, can actually store files. And so you can take these images and videos and actually create NFTs, and instead of them living off the blockchain and just trusting some central authority to have it up and running, it actually lives on the Scale network. And right now there's over $1 billion staked for security for NFTs. So we have major sports teams, esports teams, Hollywood studios, celebrities, Web 2 applications that are launching NFT functionality. We have many big partnerships launching. I'd love to be able to tell you. I'm not trying to hide it. It's just we are under NDAs and then can only announce these partnerships as they go live. So there's major content creators on YouTube that are launching NFTs on Scale. There's so much happening. So it's twofold. One, Scale has a phenomenal fit for NFTs. It doesn't cost anything to create the NFT. You have to buy Scale chains or buy Scale tokens and purchase a Scale chain. And then you have your chain, and then you're able to take that chain and create NFTs on it at no cost to your end users. Whereas if you're on the mainnet, it's $100 to $800 to create an NFT. And that's frankly too much for most NFT categories. And so Scale is a tremendous fit. The other piece of the story is every major brand is out trying to build an NFT strategy. The Scale Labs core team is in San Francisco. We're very well connected into many businesses that are launching NFTs. We've got a really phenomenal marketing and business development team. We're here to support the network. And that's our job, is to try to help support the network. So we're bringing in a lot of partnerships and excited for the NFT partnerships that will be announced in October. And Stan is back. Hey, Stan, looking good. So Stan, I answered the NFT question, but we had a really good question piggybacking on the multi-chain strategy. And Jenny, why don't you go? Why don't you ask that question? Because I think it'd be a good one for Stan to address.
Yeah, let me go for it. So again, Scale is a multi-chain network. Stan, how is it possible that so many blockchains in the Scale network can function together? How is it they can operate in a very well coordinated manner and very fast coordinated manner?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. And if you look at the history of computer science, history kind of repeats itself all the time. And in particular, if you look at what happened with computers in the 60s and 70s, how internet was developed, initially there were all kinds of technologies that connected computers, but then ultimately internet protocol won. And nowadays, everything you do pretty much when you talk on your smartphone, when you use your laptop, is done using this internet protocol. And for internet protocol, the only thing which needs to exist is messaging, being able to send a message from one computer to another. Like, for instance, when we talk now and so many people listen to us, the way it works is that all of our guys and us actually sending and receiving these messages back and forth, lots and lots of those messages, and all of the video and everything is built on top of those messages. And actually, internet doesn't really care whether it's video or it's audio or it's just an email. The only thing internet knows is that being able to send a message from point A to point B. And that's actually what we have in Scale, in our network. From any blockchain, you can send a message to any other blockchain. So if you have a smart contract on application, a dApp running on a blockchain 1, it can send a message to a smart contract or application running on blockchain 2 and get a response back. Very much in the same way when you go to Airbnb, and then Airbnb goes to PayPal and PayPal goes to Visa and whatever. All of these sites and servers, they're exchanging messages. So pretty much the same architecture that is used on the internet is used at Scale. We didn't really invent anything. We tried actually to make things as simple as possible and, so to speak, have the least of our things and more of other things that people already tried and things that worked. And so you're able to send a message from any dApp on Scale to any other dApp. And this is our internet interchain messaging agent, IMA. And that's a decentralized bridge that every chain is able to use. And in fact, in our case, every chain is a bridge. In a sense, when a message is sent from one chain to another, there's a super majority of nodes of computers in this chain sign the message and send it. So our messaging is very decentralized. It's not like some other guys sometimes just have a single computer or a gateway that sends money back and forth. And as far as I understand, there are in some cases humans that actually check every transfer because, of the security. In our case, it's all decentralized, and you need to have the supermajority of Scale nodes to send a message. So you need to hack 2/3 of Scale nodes to be able to hack our messaging and our bridging. So that's very much our architecture. It's very simple, and not only it's simple, there's very much no way to design any other architecture, a simpler one, because as we discussed in the beginning, you need to have many chains. Now, people may just start a single chain, and for a while this chain will work, but it will sooner or later get clogged. And so that's really not an answer. The only way to solve the problem of scalability of blockchain is to create many blockchains and build technologies that actually allow to send messages and then to communicate for all of those blockchains. And that's something that we've been doing at Scale. And in the Ethereum ecosystem, we are the only project that does this, and it requires lots of engineering. There are some projects outside of Ethereum ecosystem which do similar interchain messaging things to us. One of them is called Decentralization, and another one is Polkadot. But and I think these guys are doing the right thing. The reason why we think we are better is because we are within the Ethereum ecosystem, while Polkadot and Decentralization are not really. And we think that we made the right choice by actually staying compatible with Ethereum.
Yeah. Now, Stan, that's a really great answer. I want to give a little more color to this because Stan's very humble. Stan has a PhD in physics. He was a world-renowned physics researcher. He was at Los Alamos National Laboratory and Stanford, and Stan was one of the physicists that built the Java virtual machine at Sun, which almost every Android device runs software that Stan built and wrote. Stan also joined a cryptography company in the late 90s, okay? And so Stan has over 20 years of cryptography experience. So when Stan says something simple, it's simple to him. But let me tell you, it's simple in design, but it's incredibly intricate and sophisticated in execution. So if you go look at the Scale GitHub and you look at the math that lives within the BLS threshold signature library, or you go look at the DKG code, you go look at Scale consensus, this is highly sophisticated code that lets the network perform very simple functions. It's really difficult for an app to message another app in a cryptographic secure manner that's lightweight and low cost, and that's really what we've been able to manage. Okay, and so what I want to say too is, if you think about this in a way that's not a tech example, let's say this Byzantine fault tolerant example where you have all these generals and you know that some of them are bad. Well, if it's Byzantine fault tolerant, as long as less than 1/3 are bad, then you can still successfully get the message across, okay? And so that's the cool thing about BLS threshold signatures, is that there could be 16 generals, and let's say 5 of them are bad. Well, it doesn't even matter. Even if a bad one is elected to pass the message, then the only message that bad one can pass is the one that was signed off by the majority. And so it's an amazing technology that lets blockchains act like the internet. And that's really where we go back to Scale's vision of a multi-chain network. The only way that can function in any meaningful manner is BLS threshold cryptography that this team was able to create. And we didn't invent it. We're not trying to invent things. BLS was a huge push from a research perspective. Stan actually worked with Dan Bonet, who's the B in BLS, the first cryptography startup, and so this is many years in the working, and it was really tough for us to build that and code that up, but the team did a phenomenal job, and also the open source contributors, right? This is an open source decentralized project.
Totally, Jack. And actually, I will add just a couple of words. Thank you for reminding me this. People asking us, why don't you guys tell us a little more about mathematics of Scale? And sometimes it's hard during AMA to explain all the mathematics. So we started this series with my friend Marcos from our marketing department and PR. So we're doing every week this nice blockchain mathematics for Impatient series. We just every time covers a tiny topic. We don't want people to be bored too much. So the video every week typically takes about 10 minutes. And we're just recording this live and just talking about different aspects of mathematics for blockchain. So we already covered many interesting topics. I mean, actually, the topic of bridging is very interesting, of interchain messaging, and we'll be covering this topic in the coming weeks, really soon. Also covering some other interesting things like Ethereum merge, many things. So I just invite you guys, if you want to know a little more about mathematics of Scale, what you can do, you can just go to our Twitter, and we tweet these tiny snippets every week. So you could just go and watch the previous snippets, and usually every every Wednesday we actually record a new snippet, and Marcos, I think, posts it every Thursday.
Yeah,
so
someone should link to that in the chat, and I recommend everyone go listen. If you're not a mathematician, it's for you. You can learn about how math matters, and if you want to learn more about cryptography and be able to evaluate different crypto projects, it's a good way to, I think, be educated in how these things function.
That's great. And all of these videos are easily available on Scale YouTube. So that's also a very easy way of accessing all of them. So Stan, thank you. Jack, thank you. Let's move on to the next question, as we have a bunch and also have a lot of live questions. And also everybody who is here and who is asking great questions, we guys will send out t-shirts to you. And we will reach out to send you the t-shirt codes by emails. So the next question, Stan just talked about the technology and how Scale can run multi-chain in a very synchronized manner between all chains. So one of the biggest topics in crypto today is Ethereum 2, ETH2. So Stan and Jack, how will ETH2 impact Scale?
Stan, go for it.
So several things. I mean, in many cases, the new things in Ethereum help Scale. So many of you guys heard about this new pricing mechanism, EIP 1559, that has been implemented in Ethereum. We actually had a snippet with Marcos a couple of weeks ago about this EIP 1559. It helped us a lot. It's been in live, I think, for the last months, and it helped us to run our system in the most stable way. So this kind of small improvements or large improvements in Ethereum help us. And there will be a big thing coming to Ethereum sometime next year, hopefully. Ethereum will be moving from proof of work, which actually uses lots of energy, to proof of stake, which is actually much more friendly, eco-friendly, and much more green. I think it's a big step, and that's something that's been promised in Ethereum for the last 6 or 7 years. We're also looking forward to this move to proof of stake. So Ethereum will always be this kind of a bootstrap blockchain for everyone else, I think. And Ethereum is where Ether lives originally, that's where it originates. I think one analogy to it would be if you have banks that use US dollar, there is Federal Reserve, and every bank is supposed to have an account with Federal Reserve. So Federal Reserve is bank of banks. In the same way, Ethereum is the root chain for everything else. And we're looking forward to Ethereum improving Ethereum and participating also on our side, in any way we can help Ethereum. So I think Ethereum will be always the root chain. And so that's the role of Ethereum, is being the root of everything. And our role, the way we see ourselves, is Web3. Essentially, we want the Web 2 of this universe to move to Web3. And we want to still, as much as possible, glue into Ethereum mainnet and help Ethereum mainnet. As we discussed from the beginning, we're actually looking forward, in people speeding up Ethereum in ETH2. It may get a little sped up. But in any case, it's probably not going to be enough to run the Web 2 on Web 3. So from this perspective, our goal is very different. Scale, our end purpose is to be able to replace Google and Amazon and Facebook. And Facebook and Google, as you guys probably know, and Amazon, they have tens of millions of servers. And so if we need to do something like that, we need to ultimately create this type of computational power. And we don't think we'll have it next year or 2 years from now. But that's our vision for many, many years, that we at some point will be able to create decentralized Google. And probably decentralized Google will be able to do it much less of a computational power, because it will be something created by the community and much more effective. But in any case, we see ourselves as replacing Web 2 and using Ethereum as our root chain, the bootstrap chain for everything we do.
Yeah. So I'll add one thing to that. if for those of you closely following the ETH2 progress, you'll notice that the vision changed of what ETH2 would be. ETH2 was meant to be this one-stop shop solution that had 128 shards. It ran 1 million transactions per second, and I think the team there made a really good decision to say, hey, let's make Ethereum be a base layer and a security layer and a settlement layer, and then let's partner with scaling solutions that are Ethereum friendly, right? So partnering, being able to plug into multi-chain networks like SKALE that are ETH native, that bring revenue back to Ethereum, being able to partner with roll-up solutions that are friendly and value add to Ethereum, right? These are the elements that will help take Ethereum and scale it. We firmly believe that the only way to get to billions of users is to have a multi-chain network. And the way you do that is you need blockchains to be able to update state in 1 second at low cost, and that's what the SKALE network can provide. And but it always does that with the support of Ethereum. And ETH2 just makes it even less expensive for people to stake SKALE, to claim staking rewards, to set up a SKALE chain. And so we'll see a lot of just growth and even greater functionality for SKALE. But Ethereum knows it needs to be a base layer and open up to ETH-friendly partnerships.
Yeah, love it. And I also wanted to add one item. So I firmly believe that Ethereum is the rails for the financial system of the future. And the ultimate success case for Ethereum is that Ethereum services the entire planet, which just like Jack just mentioned, is billions of people. To reach that magnitude, you need scaling solutions. And scaling solution plus really fast and effective base chain, which Ethereum 2 will be, will allow to reach much higher impact, create much more interesting applications, service much bigger use cases. So absolutely build things that we cannot even think about today. So I'm very excited about what's coming. Let's look at the next questions. And so we started talking about use cases, talked about technology. Let's go back to use cases. Gaming is becoming so big and important in crypto and blockchain. So Jack, is gaming a big category for SKALE? And also, how about the play to earn gaming?
Yeah, gaming it will be a massive category for SKALE. If you look at the strengths of the SKALE network, being able to grow in a limitless fashion, being able to execute transactions in a sub-second time, being able to message state across games or across blockchains, being able to store assets directly on chain, such as files, whereas you could have a sword or gaming tools in a metaverse. You can own land that actually stays on the SKALE chain. So the metaverse and pay to earn gaming, and actually on-chain gaming is another category. Crypto Crusades is a really cool project that started where the gameplay is actually decentralized. So most gaming just occurs in a Web2 server. You trust that the code is accurate. You trust that things are happening the way they should. And then really that gaming input is an oracle that then says, hey, the sword goes to this person or this person wins the points. And we're going to see a lot more of this gameplay actually be coded into Solidity. Crypto Crusades is doing something really cool. We have a lot of other partnerships launching. We have a big esports partnership launching that will have an NFT component, and really, our goal is to get in there and use that partnership to get in front of more game developers. So we're excited about that category.
Yeah, amazing. That's
just to a couple of more comments. One comment is that definitely, as Jack said, we are currently the fastest Ethereum compatible network, in the sense that our blockchain finalization time currently is around 4 seconds. And we could actually make it faster if we would use more powerful computers. But the chains that we provide now have around 4 seconds finalization time. I think other people in the ETH ecosystem have like 200 seconds, 300 seconds. And there are some people that run games on a single chain. There are some projects that just have a single chain, and they run games on this chain, and finalization time is around 200 seconds. And then because the chain is over clogged and overused, they have about 45 minutes of transaction time. You have to wait for 45 minutes. So it's not really a way to play a game. And clearly, especially from the game example, you see the need for multiple chains. Frankly, we've been running like several games, and you have several hundred users, and if they play a lot, like several hundred users can actually clog a single chain. So it may well be that many games will require many chains, not just a single chain. So games that show so clearly that you need to have multiple chains. If you have more or less like you have 1,000 players, probably one chain won't be enough if they won't really want to play. So for games, just want to repeat what Jack said. The finality time, we have pretty fast finality time, 4 seconds, and then we have many chains. Just from what we've been running with our partners and customers, we just clearly see that in the best case, you need to have one chain per game, but for real games, you probably need to have many chains. Running like a real game with multi-users on a single chain, it's not really an option. So it clearly shows the need for many chains.
One thing I want to call out there, Stan said a lot of things, and if people are here listening and wanting to learn more about Scale, the finality time. Most blockchains will say a transaction happened, but it's actually not final. And maybe you've heard of these time-banded attacks on Ethereum where miners can actually go back in time until the block's finalized and still change things and do things, okay? And that's where you get MEV and different other on-chain issues, is because of this kind of time-banded, like non-final element of blockchain. And so if you look at a lot of competitors to Scale, they have 100 seconds, 200 seconds finality. Scale has an incredibly fast block time, but the finality comes to full completeness in 4 seconds, okay? So that's a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage for gaming. It's a huge advantage for decentralized finance. All right, and you see a lot of attacks and things that are issues because people are worried that while this time-banded element is open, they can't go expose the issue. So that doesn't happen on Scale.
That's great.
While we're on this topic, just last remark, Jenny, it's a really interesting topic. While we're on this topic, I just want to invite you guys. There's going to be a topic for one of our blockchain mathematics for Impatient series, discussing what Jack just mentioned, the time machine. That turns out that when you see a transaction on a blockchain, there is this nasty time machine that 200 blocks later, your transaction may disappear. And so in the coming weeks, we'll be doing a special blockchain mathematics for Impatient piece that will discuss the difference between finality and block time. Because block time doesn't really matter. What matters is when your transaction becomes final.
Yeah,
actually,
that's true.
You know what? And sorry, Jenny, I'm going to answer this because this actually is relevant. I see a question, the question queue from Jesse Roman about Ivy Cash. I just want to answer that. And it says Ivy Cash is incredible for transferring tokens and NFTs. Can you explain more how it'll be used on the Scale network? Well, here's a great example. Ivy Cash lets you literally just have a QR code and you point it and somebody else can just take a picture or, put their camera in front of it, scans it. Guess what? The QR code passes to the next person. That would not be possible without finality, okay? If there were 200 blocks, I could have it pass it to somebody else and then somebody could go back and take that. Now, there's a lot of cool use cases that come about when blockchains they're actually meant to be very liquid and very transferable. It opens up a tremendous amount of use cases in the real world where you can use a blockchain at events and concerts and to pass assets, to show proof of certifications, et cetera. So it opens up an entirely new field, and Ivy Cash is building that, and it wouldn't be possible with 200 block times, nor would it be possible, if I'm cashing in a free drink at an event, and I have to pay $100 in gas fees for that smart contract. Guess what? I'm not buying a drink unless I'm buying a whole bottle. And Scale lets that transaction happen at zero cost. Okay, but it all thanks to the finality and to the the economics where chains are paid for in advance and end users aren't paying for fees.
That's great. Jack, can you also talk about the finality for Scale to Ethereum bridge, as that one is also remarkable?
Yeah, so it's actually incredibly fast from the scale side. I think it's 13 seconds. It's 5 seconds, and then it's 13 seconds on Ethereum, roughly. So it ends up being about 18 seconds, roughly. It's dependent. Now, then the developer can say, when it bridges back, okay, let's wait for 2 block confirmations or 5 to make it final. But the reality is, once it comes from scale, it's final. It's 5 seconds to 4 seconds, and it's over on Ethereum. Now, that's incredibly different. Some chains it's 4 days, or 8 hours, or 20 hours. And so if you think about the world of decentralized finance, where you're trying to move assets around in a multi-chain world, it's not very feasible, we think, to be using other chains that have incredibly low latency. We have some really cool DeFi partnerships we're going to be announcing. I'll keep it quiet today, but I'm incredibly excited about some great teams, and some teams launching AMM and stablecoin swap and other cool, very well-known use cases coming to scale in DeFi.
It's just also, again, a super important subject I want to add to what Jack said is that this finality time and interchain messaging. So in our case, when we message between 2 scale chains, the time for a message to get final will be, our current time essentially is 4 seconds. For messaging between scale and Ethereum mainnet, definitely we need to take into account finality on the Ethereum mainnet, which actually limits us. So when you send money from Ethereum mainnet to scale back and forth, the limiting factor is their finality, the finality of the mainnet, which is several minutes. But between 2 different scale chains, just 4 seconds currently. Now, which brings us back again to the discussion we had at the beginning, that how we built decentralized internet, right? Were you guys imagine that Airbnb talks to PayPal and PayPal talks to Visa, and every time the interaction is 7 days? Imagine you go to Airbnb website, and then you're using PayPal, using Visa, and then so Airbnb talks to PayPal and takes 7 days for the interaction. So it's just not going to work. So if we want to have reasonable copy of what we have in Web 2, if we want to take this in a sane manner and kind of move it to Web 3, we need to have a user experience, and which is similar to what users have on Web 2. You go to the website, then this website uses whatever, Visa, PayPal, there are so zillions of interactions, how servers interact on the network behind the scenes. But these are seconds, they're not days. So I don't think solutions that provide 7-day interaction time or even 4-hour interaction time are feasible. And that's really when some people come to me and say, okay, here's the solution. They show me the solution. It's going to take 7 days. I'm like, okay, let's see how many users will end up using this thing. But for us at Scale, definitely, since the goal is to have a similar experience to Web 2, we need to have seconds. We can't really have hours or days special. But that's really a super important subject, I think, for users.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. I am personally very excited that thanks to the architecture that Stan described and Jack described, Scale can not only support the most important blockchain categories of today, like NFTs, DeFi, gaming, but also support a lot of things that are unthinkable of. And in every category, much more complex and interesting things can be built, and everything is gasless when it's on Scale. Let's move to the next question. So we talked about tech, we talked about some use cases. Now let's talk about the history. And let's talk about the Scale creation story. That was a really good question on how did Scale start? And how did you, Jack and Stan, think about the idea for the technology?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to fold this into another question with some. I think Dimas has a question too about, how can we earn trust as a core team? I think is the premise of this question. So let me just start and tell you a little bit about the history. So Stan and I have been founders, starting companies in Silicon Valley for a very long time. All right. And we've started, separate companies, but cryptography companies, mobile companies, analytics companies, big data companies between us, networking companies. And we have a lot of experience. And both of us back in 2017 had ideas to actually build applications, to build decentralized applications. And where our hearts were pulled into the industry was through Ethereum, and knowing that with Ethereum and with smart contracts, you could create decentralized business models. What this means is you can have democratized businesses where the power and the money and the profit goes to users and workers in marketplaces as opposed to central authorities, okay? Now, why does that matter? Well, if we look at the way tech's trending, you look at Google, Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, we have these giants that really run our lives. And the beauty of blockchain is it actually democratizes that. It takes power away from those 5 entities and the 10, 20 people at each company that run those businesses. And the same thing's true with financial institutions. It gives power back to people. So we were both captured by this. And then we were trying to start applications. Stan, I had different ideas for data marketplace applications. Stan had a number of different ideas. And I talked to Stan. I said, Stan, why do you think you could do all of these businesses? Because I keep running into a wall when it comes down to execution. How can I get Ethereum to do what I need it to do? CryptoKitties is just crushed the whole Ethereum network, and it's just people buying these cats. And Stan said, "Oh, well, here, this is actually what I'm designing." And Stan was designing the SKALE network, okay? And then Stan and I we were like, "Hey, we know how to build software and scale big businesses way better than just building applications. We know how to build software people leverage." And so we said, hey, let's go take this design and this tech and let's build it for other people that want to build decentralized Uber, decentralized finance, decentralized social media websites, decentralized games, right? We instead of building those applications, we wanted to be a layer below between Ethereum base layer and we wanted to be the execution layer that would help drive activity. Now, we started doing this back in 2017. We've been building for a very long time. The core team vesting schedules didn't even commence till the mainnet launched last October. And I had a question from someone about how can you earn the trust? Well, we're just trying to execute and build product and make dapps incredibly successful. And we care, we're mission driven. But what I will tell you is from a core team perspective, we also are very incentive aligned. Everybody has 4-year vesting schedules that just started last October. And at the end of the day, this is an open source decentralized network. Everybody who has a SKALE token is a co-owner, and everyone will be able to vote starting this fall on different principles and economic changes in the network. But my advice to all of you would be, there are a lot of projects that aren't about building the tech. They're about pumping a token, and they have very little to no vesting schedules. And that's where you can get into trouble. And when people aren't mission driven, and the community, the core team and the open source developers, the validators, everybody building and working on SKALE cares and believes in the goal of what we're trying to build.
I want to add some things to what Jack said, is that, there are several things. I think just one thing which was really good for both me and Jack, that we had a pretty reasonable level of success before we actually did SKALE. So when we decided what to do, we really wanted to do something which was interesting and long-term both for me and for Jack and for the rest of the team. So we made the decision not only based on money, or short-term profits, but what's interesting for us to do. And definitely, it's a very interesting thing that we are building, right? It's one of the most interesting problems the universe is facing, is building this Web3. So it's very satisfactory to be part of the team. And another thing which was really, I think, which really clicked with us, what we realized was that, especially, in 2017, for instance, in 2016, there were not so many entrepreneurs actually from, say, typical Silicon Valley type of a background in the blockchain space, because for whatever reason, some people didn't believe in cryptocurrency. I don't know, it's kind of interesting, it's kind of funny, because I know many friends of mine who were very successful entrepreneurs, jumping from social networks to Web2 to, whatever, technology, AI, big data. And but for many people, the jump to crypto was too much because not everyone in the technology space immediately understood the potential of crypto. And I think because of that, the field was wide open in the sense that typically there is something new, like AI. There's so many startups and really like entrepreneurs working really hard and applying well-known like startup principles like lean startup and like MVP and many things in the startups that actually know how you do things. And crypto was such a crazy space that we saw like many people that were in crypto were just starters, and it was just we just saw the potential that if we do this thing, we saw the potential to do it in a good way. And another thing, well, Jack also already said, but I just want to reiterate. If you look at like crypto projects, even if you look at the history of Scale, when we go to every like new like conference like DevCon or ETHCC, every year we see a new project, and then this project, in many cases is very short-lived and somehow disappears, and there's another project. So we've seen so many hypes already, like short-term hypes, even during this like short time that Scale exists. And so one thing to learn trust is just time. We've seen cases where people start a project and a year later the founders leave. And we've seen many actually examples of high-profile projects where founders just spend a couple of years and leave. And so I think with time, people will understand that Scale is different, and it's just here to stay for many years because we have no intention of leaving and doing anything else. And the project itself is a huge undertaking, which can easily take a lifetime of anyone, right? So we are in this project for a long time. It's a complex project, and we appreciate our token holders also taking a long-term view. Sometimes people think that, okay, there's a short-term magic bullet, but in many cases, if someone tells you it's a magic bullet, it's too good to be true. There are some limits in the technology, and if you build something important, it takes time and energy and team and everything, and that's what we are doing at Scale. And so far we're doing really well. I think we're doing really good product. People like us, our customers like us, and we are very happy to be with our community. And as Jack said, trust is earned with time. So the more time goes, hopefully the stronger our community becomes, and the happier we all are at Scale.
That's great. So Jack, Stan mentioned traction and how happy are the dapps that are starting to test Scale and run on it. Jack, what is the number of dapps in Scale testnet as of now and in Scale Innovator program?
Yeah, there's over 100 applications that have signed MOUs, that are testing, that are working with a team. There are about 35 chains that are actively being tested right now at this moment. We have this includes NFTs, DeFi, gaming, Web3, etc. So there's more demand right now than, almost more demand than time. Okay. And so what we will be doing is you'll see, I think one common theme is, okay, when are the big launches happening? I just want to reiterate the importance of things going well at the launch. We are going to have billions of dollars in locked. There's already $1 billion plus staked, but we are going to have real money in DeFi, in gaming, and NFTs on these chains. And it's not just the Scale network that needs to be optimized, it's also the validator setups, okay? So there's a lot of improvements made, not in the code, but in how settings were managed in the validator network. There's almost 160 nodes in the network, okay, that are not run by a core team. They're run by separate, unique entities. It's an open network. So there's a lot of optimization that's happening. And doing this right, I mean, this is such a big vision that we need to make sure it goes well, all right? So there's no issue about, are there enough dapps? Are there enough applications that want to run on Scale? There's massive demand. It's all about doing it well, because this is going to be real money, real people going into liquidity pools, and things have to be tight, and that's the way we operate as a community and a team, and so I just I want to address that. So good question.
So wanted to add that. So what Jack mentioned in the end, that's thorough approach to everything that the team does, how it operates, how it works with partners, how it's building technology is very thorough. And that's like one of the characteristics of Scale and how the project is being built. People who have been with the project for a long time, the community members, know this and have seen this over a very long term. So very thorough approach to everything. Also, Jack mentioned,
Okay, no, go ahead. We have a few minutes. I want to answer one more question I see here.
Yes, I will get there. I also wanted to mention the 30 chains that Jack mentioned. It's thanks to the fact that Scale is multi-chain. Many people know Polkadot and parachains, and how small is the number of parachains that is live on Polkadot now, and I respect the project deeply. So it's as if there is over 30 parachains already live on Scale.
Yeah.
So that's an equivalent.
Applications can test in each environment.
Yes,
so,
and each is dapps specific, fully belongs to a very particular application.
Just want to add last comment, Zhenya, because you touched on a very important subject, which is decentralization. So we know that decentralization is a big thing. When Satoshi Nakamoto wrote his paper and released Bitcoin, decentralization was a way for blockchain to survive, essentially, to fight, people that don't want blockchain, some governments or some private people or private companies. Many entities don't want blockchain to succeed, and many governments, to be frankly, don't want blockchain to succeed. So that's why Bitcoin was decentralized from the beginning, and it survived. It's a huge thing that it survived through all of the years, and Ethereum survived. So decentralization is super important, because once things become centralized, the government can take and easily come and take the entire thing down, or censor, or affect users, or whatever. So there's no point in having a blockchain which is centralized. And ETH is decentralized, ETH2 is decentralized, Scale is decentralized. There are some other projects which are decentralized. I believe, for instance, Definity is decentralized, or Polkadot guys are decentralized. These are good guys from my perspective. But many other projects are centralized, and they don't tell people about this. So many chains today trade centralization for speed and everything. They say, we are fast, or we are fast to market. But what they actually run is, in many cases, computers that belong to themselves and to their team, and bridges that belong to themselves. And so you have many projects that don't ever answer the question how much they are decentralized. Scale has been decentralized from the beginning. There's not a single node from the beginning was on Scale network which was actually run by Scale. Not a single node. And some of our other guys run all of their nodes. Or they select nodes which they call the super nodes, and everything else depends on the super nodes, and the super nodes are run by them. So many projects today run their system in a totally centralized manner, and I believe at some point it will actually the story will get kind of publicized. And also there's a very significant problem with laws such as anti-money laundering and know your customer, KYC, ML, all of these things. Because if you're running a centralized network, you actually have to comply with government regulations and things. So what's important for Scale is, from the beginning, we were 100% decentralized. Again, there's not a single Scale computer running on Scale network. It's all other people. And it actually creates problems for us, because sometimes we have to fix a bug or find the source of the problem. So we actually interact with our validators, talk to them, and it's always a complex, issue to fix things, because it's all decentralized, whole community. But we're actually proud that we are totally decentralized and totally open source. That not a single line of code on Scale, not a single line of code which is not open source, and not a single computer on Scale network which belongs to Scale and will never be. So that's, we are trying to kind of conform to this decentralized nature of our network, and people like us, and maybe some people like decentralized things. We are building a network which is decentralized.
Yeah. That's Stan, that's awesome. All right, we're 2 minutes over, but I really like giving out Scale t-shirts. So I'm going to answer one more question quickly. And it's also a really good one for us to close on. So Lemaire Walker has a question about NFTs beyond static imagery and content. I just want to say this. NFTs are a big deal right now because people are just speculating and trading a static image. Scale is actually helping. All the projects we're working on with NFTs are about NFTs as a continuum, NFTs that have utility. So you can own an NFT that's an image or a video, but guess what? It can give you rights in a system. It can give you rights in a metaverse. It can give you rights as a fan for a professional sports team. It can give you rights in a decentralized finance protocol for greater liquidity returns, okay? So NFTs on Scale are huge, but the fact that you can tie in computation at low cost is a massive, massive category for Scale, and it's a huge differentiator. So Lemaire, great question. And yes, we will send you a shirt. But okay, so on that note, I just want to say this community is amazing. Blockchain networks are really all about, it's community owned, it's open source. The fact that everybody's here, we just greatly appreciate it. We're humbled. We work so hard on the core team to support this community and to support dApp developers and to support all the people that believe in the project. And so it's our honor and our pleasure to talk to you. So thanks for the great questions. I hope this was valuable for everybody, and we're excited to do it again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.